Hello people, I am Ivan Stan and I'm a sports photographer and I want to talk today about these two cameras in comparison between them. This is the new Sony Alpha1 and this is the Sony Alpha9 II. So I've seen a lot of YouTube reviews where people are saying really good things about the Sony Alpha1, but the people are reviewers, these people are doing reviews, they are not really actual users who are going to be putting this camera through detailed tests, who are going to shoot thousands of photos and use them in different lighting conditions, morning, midday, night. So I think they lack the proper information which I could get in 1 month of using this camera, mostly on the racetrack. I've shot at the morning, in the midday and at night, in really good light conditions, in bright sun and in very low light conditions. And I shot different types of photos as well, so I can tell you some of my feedback that I got after 1 month of using it. And I will compare it to the A9 II and tell you some of the bad things and some of the good things of this camera. First, let's go with the good thing. The one amazing thing about this camera is the video capabilities of it. So it can shoot 8K video and it can shoot 4K in 120 and it can shoot full HD in 240 frames. So the image quality compared to the A9 or A9 Mark II is just like 5 levels above. So if you want a camera that can shoot sports and wildlife and you can also film video at the same time, so this is really a good choice. Now the comparison for the stills. Let's take a look at the bad things. A few problems. First, the electronic viewfinder issue. So if you are holding the camera like this and you have a sun behind you, and if you take the camera off and the sun hits this sensor, it basically disables the electronic viewfinder. So when you put the camera back, it's completely black, you don't see anything. So the only solution is to reset the camera. You have to switch it off and then switch it back on. So if you are in the middle of some event and you're waiting for a moment to shoot and you just take the head off the camera and put it back on and it's disabled. So that's a pretty big problem, and I hope they can fix that in the firmware revisions. I did not find a solution like putting a tape over the sensor. Then the viewfinder was completely black and couldn't be turned on. The only solution that I can find is that you have to pay attention and not put the camera to the side. If you want to rest, you put the camera down so your body is blocking the sun. Next, let's move to the battery consumption. So I have noticed roughly about 40% higher battery consumption on the A1 compared to the A9 II. So I'm using this battery grip and I always now burn through one battery at least. And my events last 3 to 4 hours. On the last event I almost went through 2 batteries in just under 4 hours. So that really did not ever happen with the A9 II. So higher battery consumption. So you might need to have some extra batteries with you for this camera. The next thing is I am getting higher noise levels on the A1 compared to the A9 II or A9. This is a higher megapixel count sensor, so it was to be expected. However, in all the reviews, nobody's mentioning this, that a really noticeable difference between these two cameras. I'm now gonna bring the A9 or A9 II for the nighttime shoot, and if I'm not shooting a video, I'm just gonna stick with the old camera in low light. The next issue is the autofocus. So on paper they say this has 2 times faster autofocus computation than the A9 II. In reality, I have not noticed any difference whatsoever between the two cameras, except that the A1 has some weird glitches. I'm following the car down the track, and I will press to focus, and sometimes the camera will not catch the moving car, which is the only moving object. It will catch the background behind it. That has never happened with the A9 or A9 II. When you're tracking the subject, or if you want to change from car to car, I have not that often, but I have experienced the problems of A1 not doing what it's supposed to do, whereas the A9 or A9 II have performed better. Also, one thing that I noticed is if you're using you want to focus on the eye, and if the person is backlit, so it's like a bit dark person with the brighter background, it had a lot of problems. I basically could not hit the eye focus if the person was not properly exposed. So that's another thing to consider. So if you are thinking of upgrading from the A9 II or the A9 to the A1, thinking that you're going to have a better focusing, that's not going to happen. It's just not happening, and maybe the firmware revisions are going to fix this problem, but between them I couldn't really tell any difference, except this is a bit worse. There is another issue that's been recently reported with the IBIS of the Sony Alpha1. Personally, I did not notice any problems with the IBIS, so for me it's working fine. This user review is not really backed up scientifically or with any tests. It's purely from my personal experience as an everyday user of the camera, and I probably shot 50,000 photos in this month, because each event that I go to, I'm gonna shoot 3,000 to 5,000 photos, doing several events in a week. The feedback is based purely on the personal experience, so you might consider this information if you are looking to upgrade. Maybe do a bit more of your own research before you switch to the new camera. I hope that at least somebody will find this information useful. And cut.